thanks for listening to Barbara's podcast. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter or e-courses. Celebrate life, and see you at the next episode.
Welcome. I'm Barbara Carafocus, a holistic nutritionist, and I'm thrilled to introduce Dr. Loredana Shapson, a pharmacist turned holistic gut health specialist, women's bloating expert, helping people heal naturally with less meds. So welcome, Loredana.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. So let's dive right in. You mentioned that you conquered your own health challenges. Could you tell us a bit about your personal health journey and how it led you to specialize in women's bloating and gut health?
Yeah, sure. So, I personally went through constipation my whole life and I had acid reflux. I also suffered all of a sudden out of nowhere, bloating started to happen. And it was really unpredictable. It was frustrating. It was embarrassing. And I had done as much research as I could. I went through a couple doctors and I still wasn't getting the answers that I needed. And I was struggling and I was taking like literally probably 15 supplements at one point.
Oh my goodness.
Sometimes more than that. I had 4 stool tests, a SIBO breath test, a food sensitivity test. You name it, I was a guinea pig. And even going through all of those testing, spending all of that money, I still wasn't getting any answers. So that's when I just kind of dove into the research myself. As you mentioned, I'm a pharmacist, so I have this clinical understanding. I can read clinical research. I have a very deep understanding of how the body functions. So I went to the education and the literature and I figured out the missing pieces, I think, of what causes bloating in lots of people and how to correct it. And so since I corrected myself, I found all the shortcuts and I'm now using all of those principles on my patients. And so where most people, when they use food to heal their gut, it can take anywhere from a year to 2 years. And that's usually with a lot of restriction. It takes time, it's slow and steady. I'm
Yeah.
finding I can get people to eat all their foods back again within 3 months. So very exciting. So to kind of heal the gut that quickly and get people back to their normal lives and eating normally again.
Well, that sounds very interesting. Well, gut health seems to be a trending topic these days. There's so many people there that suffer from chronic constipation, bloating. So how do you, what's your methods?
Yeah. It really depends. Most people in my office come in with constipation. And so first step number one is to get people pooping again. And that's every single day.
I
Right?
know.
Because if so important. If stool sits for too long, it's toxic and it breeds an environment for like unwanted bacteria and unwanted microbes. So that's
And
step
you
number
absorb
one.
all that in again, where you're supposed to get it out, you absorb it back and it's so horrible.
Yeah, you recirculate the toxins. It's bad. So that's step number one. So we do that with digestive enzymes. Typically help with helping people go to the bathroom. So anything with betaine HCl is a great supplement that will increase stomach acid. And when you're breaking down your food better, you're digesting better, you're processing better. And so that's number one. Obviously, movement is great. Walking is great for constipation. Water intake, but the key with water intake, it has to be in between meals and it needs to be at room
Yes.
temperature. So a lot of people will chug their water at mealtime and you're diluting your stomach juices. So, and that just slows everything down. So and then also sometimes I have to use some herbal products in the beginning to help them to move their stool. But that's usually where we start is number one, get you pooping again.
Yes.
A digestive enzyme with betaine always goes on board. That alone will get rid of your bloating pretty quickly. So those are my first 2 steps because when we talk about really what is bloating and what causes it, the first is low digestive enzymes,
Okay, I was going to
and
ask you that,
yeah,
what contributes to bloating and digestive discomfort? What causes it really?
yeah. So the core of the issue is an imbalanced gut health. It's just you have the wrong types of bacteria or too much of one type and not enough of others. So
Yep.
that's the core of the issue. The secondary issue that comes from that is low digestive enzyme release. So, because of that, your body is under a constant state of stress. And when you're stressed out, we all know it, you kind of get like a stomach ache when you're nervous and you're scared. It turns off your digestive system. So, That in turn lowers your digestive enzymes. So if you want to get rid of your symptoms now or reduce them now, you have to add digestive enzymes. And that's a temporary fix. In the meantime, you will start to correct the imbalance because stomach acid, one of its jobs is to get rid of bad bacteria, right?
That's
Think about
yeah.
all the food coming into your mouth is exposed to the environment. The stomach acid is the first line of defense to get rid of what shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So we will start to rebalance our gut with digestive enzymes, but it's a temporary fix. And usually I find people need that for a month or two while we work on the other issue, which is the imbalanced gut. And so there's several causes of this. So first is antibiotic use is number one. Wipes it's like an atomic bomb to your gut. So that alone will get rid of the good guys and the bad guys, but what's left are those strong and angry guys. Yeah, so antibiotics are one. We also get antibiotics from our meats. I mean, we're in the United States here, so
The
we
same
have a
here.
lot of that. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna ask you, do you have better food there? You know, we're local.
There was a joke going around, and they're saying, well, if you need some antibiotics, just have some pork kebabs because they
Yeah, I get it.
were
It is. So
bad.
in America, 70% of our antibiotics that are used are on animals.
Animal.
So yeah, so we're getting slow doses of antibiotics in our diet. And then we also don't even think about these other things like pesticides and herbicides,
Yes.
preservatives in food, chlorine in the tap water.
Yeah.
All of these things are designed to kill bugs. And so when we ingest them, we're just causing this imbalance. Another thing is, we eat a lot of refined sugar and carbohydrates. So we're eating the wrong foods that are high in sugar. So they feed the wrong microbes, especially candida and yeast. And then you also have low fiber. So now we're not feeding the right
The
guys
right
with the
type.
foods that they need.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a combination of diet and chemicals that really throws off the gut imbalance. And so those are the two things you got to work on. Get your digestive enzymes in now and then work on rebalancing your gut health.
Yeah. Could you provide some insight into the connection between hormonal changes and women and digestive health?
Yeah. So our gut health and our microbiome, they help us break down estrogen and hormones. And so if our gut's not functioning properly, we're not clearing hormones as effectively as we could be. Another thing too is that when your gut's imbalanced, your body's in a chronic state of stress. So you're
Okay.
in fight or flight. And for most women, and when we're in fight or flight, our cortisol is being released more than our sex hormones are being released. And so our body is in survival mode, not in reproductive mode. So this underlying stress can delay periods, cause heavy periods, painful periods. So we need to
It
correct
affects
the
our
gut
libido
imbalance.
as well.
Of course, 100%. Yeah. You're
Curious
not
about that.
lying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge issue. So we got to fix the gut. We got to get rid of the underlying stress, and then you'll clear your hormones better, and you'll be in a playful state and a restful state.
Okay. Excellent. You mentioned the impact of food, herbs, and dietary supplements on health. Can you share some dietary nutritional tips for optimizing gut health, especially for women?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing, if you have bloating or
Yeah.
constipation right now, acid reflux, it is best for you at this time that you eat more cooked vegetables. So
Okay.
think of soups and stews with animal broths,
Yes.
because cooking your food makes it easier to digest. And if you're bloating, you're having a digestive issue. So usually the beauty of the gut though is it realigns itself every 3 to 5 days. So you only have to eat this way for 2 or 3 weeks. Let everything rebalance with soups and stews while you're taking digestive enzymes. And if you don't have digestive enzymes at home, you can use vinegar. So vinegar is an acid, and that's going to support your gut health as well. So taking that with each meal, a tablespoon and a little bit of water, maybe 3, 4 ounces of water, and you can take that with your meal, that will help you break down your food better and help with that. So that's the first place to start is cooked foods, lots of soups and stews, and you should avoid things that irritate the gut. So what I have my patients follow at the start, as long as digestive enzymes are on board, most people do well with the paleo lifestyle. So
Okay.
that's no grains, no dairy, no refined sugars, and no beans and legumes for right now. And beans and legumes are really important for gut health. But in the beginning, It's not the first thing to focus on. You need to really heal the gut lining first, give your digestive system a little break, and then later on you can start bringing in some beans, maybe about a month after. And you
Yeah.
would start small.
Yes.
So if you have a food that triggers you, you're not going to eat a whole bowl of that. That's like
Oh,
going to the gym and saying, I'm going to lift 120 pounds today because I'm trying to get strong. You
yeah.
wouldn't do that. You would start at 10 pounds and you're going to work slowly each week. The same thing goes with your gut health when you're bringing in new foods, new vegetables, or maybe vegetables that trigger you. The key is to still eat it, but find the smallest dose that you can eat that won't trigger your symptom.
Yeah.
So that might even be a teaspoon, that might even be a tablespoon. For some people, they can't tolerate fermented foods. And so that may be a teaspoon of just the juice, not even the vegetables. So it's most people, what they end up doing is once they find a food that bothers them, they just completely avoid it. And that's actually worse for your gut health because you're starving the gut bacteria. The best way to do it is slow, low doses and steady over time. And each week you just eat a little bit more. You start increasing your amount. So lots of vegetables need to come in, but like I said, just find your dose that doesn't bother you.
And that's fascinating. Always
Mm-hmm.
find information about gut health very, very interesting because so many of us suffer from it. It's incredible.
Yeah, and they make it a lot more complicated out there than it needs to be. Like people
Yeah.
say that you have to follow a low FODMAP diet. You have to. There's another diet called an elemental diet. It's a
Yeah.
liquid diet, and it's just no, you don't have to do that. This could be so much easier. If you have a little bit of supplemental support, you can work through this a lot quicker.
I am on the same page with you. I believe that too. Going to super extremes, you don't need to.
Yeah, I don't have anybody take any lab tests, nothing, because what we see in clinical research is
Yeah.
we test stool samples, but
Yeah.
knowing that information right now does not change what we do in clinical practice. So, why are we ordering stool samples? I think that they're important, but they're more important right now for clinical research, right? When they're doing these studies and they're testing these patients before and after, what's happening to the gut health. But for us on the clinical side, it's just not there yet. The information's not supporting it.
No, no, no. Um, are there any upcoming trends or breakthroughs in the field of gut health and women's health that we should be aware of?
I
Um,
think the latest thing that people are focusing on with gut health and women's health is fasting. A lot of
yes.
people, I mean, fasting's been around for a while, but I feel like we've have a lot more information now about how women should fast and how men should fast. And I think the women's information is newer than the men. And so there's certain times of the month when women should fast because it does affect hormone levels and we
Yeah.
want to preserve our hormones. And when it comes to tie this into gut health too is that
Yeah.
fasting is wonderful for your gut health. I mean, you're not putting any food down the GI tract, so you're giving it a rest so it can heal. What we see in clinical research is in 24-hour water fast, we released gut stem cells. And so we're going to repair the lining of our gut extremely fast at that time. So if you can throw in, work up to doing a 24-hour water fast once a week, that would support your gut health as well. But just to kind of go into for women, I'll tell people the worst time to fast, okay, is actually the week before your period. And this is obviously for women who still get their period.
Yeah.
This is where progesterone is starting to increase. This is the reason why, progesterone so releases after your egg is released. And so its
Yeah.
job is to say, hey, an egg just came out. We're going to implant this. I need you to sit down. I want you to chill out. You're going to crave sugar and chocolate and carbs because I need you to grow a home for this new what we think is going to be a fertilized egg, right?
Yes.
So this is the worst time to fast because your body is trying to grow and create nutrients. And that's why the lining fills with blood. It's going, oh, here, we got to feed this area. So you don't want to fast at all, not even intermittent fasting on this day. So you're going to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner the week before your period. The best time to fast is actually once you get your period and you bleed. Now, usually the best time is around day 3 because your hormones are starting to come back up. But this is where estrogen's coming in. And estrogen loves low sugar diets. So this is where you're going to eat maybe more keto. And I don't like to use the word keto, but under 50 grams of net carbs per day,
Yes.
right between days 1 through 10. This is where your body can handle more stress. You can fast a little bit. You can fast two days at a time, 3 days at a time. You can work out harder here. You're more social during this time. So days 1 through 10 is a really good sweet spot to do those types of extended fasts. So do you practice fasting?
I do sort of a mini version on my own. I just listen to my body. So in a sense, I won't do a 24-hour fast, but on a daily basis, I think I have my first meal around 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I'll drink lots of teas and hydrate, and then I'll get hungry around 10, and then I might eat my last meal around 7:30 in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just on my own cycle. I didn't have to force my body to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. That's a perfect amount of time to fast every day for longevity and health and all of that. They did a study on breast cancer women, and they found that they followed them for 2 years, and all they asked them to do was to just fast for a certain number of hours a day.
Yeah.
And so they found that women who fasted 13 hours or longer,
Yes.
that group of people had a 50% less chance of getting their breast cancer to come back. So there was so just doing that for women is extremely helpful for our long-term health and cancer reduction. At least that study indicates so. So I love that you're doing that. And for people who are perimenopause or menopause, you don't have to follow any type of fasting schedule because you're not cycling anymore the way that you used to over a 30-day period. So for those women, I always recommend what I call a 6-1. And that means that for 6 days out of the week, you are generally low carbohydrate. And then 1 day a week, and then on those days, you can fast as much as you want, 24 hours, 36, 48. And then 1 day a week, you do have a day where you burst your nutrients, where you do eat a lot of carbohydrates, up to 100 to 150 grams per day, because your body still needs those growth signals. And the days that you could intuitively do that are maybe the days when you wake up hungry. When you wake up hungry, that tells your body that progesterone's trying to make an appearance. Okay, so that's for most people. The week before their period, they get hungry as soon as they wake up. They have more cravings. So maybe those are how you can intuitively eat, which I love that you're doing that. You wait till you're hungry at 10. But for other women, if you wake up hungry, that's your body telling you, oh, wow, I really should eat some food today. I should eat more carbohydrates today. And obviously they should come from vegetables primarily. And then obviously fruits that are in season.
Are there any common misconceptions or misunderstandings that people have about gut health that you've come through your clientele or people that you work with?
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception is that they need these lab tests, that they need to spend the money. And then a lot of people really actually come in without hope. So more of the misconception of, oh my gosh, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I went to my doctor and he put me on an antacid medicine and it's not helping. And in fact, antacid medicines make things worse. I mean, I'm a pharmacist. I mean, and I'm holistic now. So it's interesting to be in this space. There is a space for medicine, but I believe that the emergency care, the acute care, the infectious care that can happen, absolutely necessary. But the one medicine that I can say that I absolutely hate, and this is the only one, is antacids. And it's because of the long-term issues that it can cause with your gut health. I mean, it reduces your ability to break down food. You can become deficient in calcium. And for women with osteoporosis risk as we get older, that is a huge issue. Zinc, magnesium, other minerals become an issue. And then you open up the risk of gut infections. So antacids are probably the one medicine that I absolutely dislike. And it's the first thing that I take all of my patients off of when they start working with me.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, I always, obviously, if you're going to stop any medicine, you must talk to a doctor first. But I guess the advantage that I have is I'm a pharmacist. So when they go to their doctor, I say, tell your doctor you're working with a pharmacist.
With a pharmacist, yeah.
I got you. So I think the biggest misconception is that it can't be healed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in closing, what advice or recommendation do you have for our listeners who want to take proactive steps today towards improving their gut health and overall well-being? Just the last
little final summary here. So, I mean, if you're struggling with gut health, and that's anything, diarrhea, constipation, anything, your stomach is struggling. So you need to make it a little easier for it. And so that means eating more cooked vegetables, more soups and stews, try not to overeat, chew your food very well, making sure that you're hydrating in between your meals, not during your meals. And then, give it time. And when you find a trigger food that bothers you, the goal is to find a dose that doesn't irritate you. So eat as little as you need to get it down without causing you symptoms. And over time, you got to train it like you would any other muscle. Slow and steady, you'll get there. And if you can, add a probiotic in as soon as possible, because we need to start bringing in the good guys. Once you start bringing in probiotics, I find that maybe a month in, my patients no longer need digestive enzymes, because now the good bacteria are making a home, they're correcting the imbalance, and now you're breaking down your food better, you're rebuilding your lining, you're absorbing your nutrients better. So you're becoming more nutritious. So helping your body right now with cooked foods and stomach acid and supplements with digestive enzymes, and then also bringing in a probiotic is going to be the key factor in your healing. And another thing I want to point about probiotics is what we're seeing in clinical research. The peak benefit of probiotics for constipation and maybe other health condition is at 2 months. So you may be taking a probiotic for up to 2 months and not seeing a huge shift in your constipation. But what I want to tell you is don't give up. You didn't give it enough time. And some studies are now showing 3 months. And then we have some studies in children that are as long as 6 months. So what we're seeing is the longer that you're on it, the more benefit that you get. Don't give up too quickly, because a lot of people will say, oh, I tried a probiotic for a couple of weeks and it didn't really do anything. And it's like, no, you didn't give it enough time. So stick with it once a day. It doesn't matter if it's refrigerated or not refrigerated, you still get benefit. Keep it simple. Take it once a day. It doesn't matter with or without food at this point, because the clinical research isn't even specifying those details. So all we know is people are taking them once a day at doses that it doesn't matter, just as long as you're getting it in. So that's my summary. Get the probiotics and on board and stick with it.
I know that's, I always say there's like the 3 pillars that it's remove, heal, and replenish. Those are the 3 steps, and that's it. Yeah. Well, thank you for being such a lovely guest. And how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. I have a couple freebies I want to share with all of your listeners. And if you go to my website, I have a belly bloating fixer elixir. You can eliminate bloat within days using things that you have in your kitchen. So that's free. Go get that recipe. You'll get it immediately. I also have a YouTube page, and I share free gut health tips there. So it's at LifeMod Solutions. Nice. And for people who are looking to kind of self-pace through their own gut healing journey, I just created an online gut healing course called Bye Bye Bloat for Women. And so you go to my homepage, and that's available and up right now. You can get started, and in 2 weeks, you'll get all the information you need to fix your gut health in a protocol and plan that I use with myself and with my patients. And for anybody who's interested in scheduling a one-on-one visit with me, I'll give you 50% off my initial consultation. I just mentioned Barbara's podcast here, and I'd be happy to support you.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Have a lovely day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Barbara's podcast. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter or e-courses. Celebrate life, and see you at the next episode.